Imagine nearly every business in a country suddenly gaining the chance to generate its own electricity, cutting costs, securing energy, and claiming a stake in the green revolution. This isn't some far-off utopian promise. Right now, in the heart of Eastern Europe, Romania is unleashing a 310 million wave of investment aimed directly at transforming how its companies power their futures. But will this bold move spark an energy renaissance or set off a frenzy of chaos and disappointment? Romania is at a turning point. Today we're diving deep into why a formerly coal-dependent nation, often overlooked on Europe's map, has become the latest front line in the global race for clean energy dominance. And if Romania succeeds, it could rewrite not just its own economic playbook, but the future of energy across an entire region. But behind the headlines and high-flying promises lies a heated struggle. Outdated grids, complex rules, and a fierce bidding war are all in play. Will Romania's $310 million bet propel it to the front of the green economy, or will it expose just how hard the energy transition really is? Let's rewind for a moment. For decades, Romania was a classic energy underdog. Its post-communist economy leaned heavily on fossil fuels, especially coal and natural gas, just to keep the lights on. But change, in the form of European Union climate mandates and rising energy prices, has been relentless. Over the past decade, the global wave of renewable energy hasn't just washed up in Western capitals. It's come crashing into Eastern Europe too. Enter the Modernization Fund. This EU-backed financial lifeline is funneling billions into countries like Romania with one mission: shift economies away from carbon, and quickly. For Romania, this opportunity is both a blessing and a test of resolve. The government seized the moment, launching a funding call worth 310 million, a sum that would have seemed unimaginable just a few years ago. The cash isn't aimed at abstract, far-off projects. It's laser-focused: new solar, wind, and small hydro installations, primarily for self-consumption by businesses. Think factories, tech campuses, even rural enterprises generating their own clean energy instead of buying it from legacy utilities. Sebastian Berduia, Romania's Minister of Energy, captured the spirit when he declared, "We are talking about a real opportunity for Romanian enterprises, regardless of their size, to produce their own electricity, reduce costs, and actively contribute to achieving climate objectives." What's actually on offer? The package breaks down like this: $151 million reserved for solar projects under 5 megawatts, $117 million for solar above 5 megawatts, and the rest designated for wind and hydropower. Entrepreneurs can claim up to $20 million in reimbursements per project. The bidding window is open, but competition is fierce, and the clock's ticking, with all submissions due by late August. And the context? After a record-smashing 2024, Romania now boasts nearly 5 GWs of solar capacity, adding 1.7 GWs in a single year. For comparison, that's like jumping 2 steps up the clean energy leaderboard in just 12 months. The Photovoltaic Industry Association, known as RPIA, is optimistic. The 2 GW target for 2025 looks attainable, with more than 1.6 GW of sites under construction, they report. These milestones aren't just about kilowatt hours. They're about economic strategy. As energy prices whiplash and supply chains get shakier, being able to generate your own clean power is a serious advantage for any business. And for a country battling brain drain and looking to attract new investment, reliable and green energy is a powerful calling card. Yet optimism only tells half the story. The real drama unfurls when we zoom in on the gritty details, the rules, the rivalries, the real risks. Until recently, Romania's energy grid was like an old train system, patchy, outdated, and prone to bottlenecks. For years, connecting new wind or solar projects involved a first-come, first-served scramble. Those able to move quickly, or with influence, often snapped up the best slots, while others got pushed to the back of the line. But in 2024, regulatory tectonics began to shift. The government, facing criticism over grid access and fairness, imposed Order 53. Now any company wanting to add over $1 million of new capacity must pony up a 5% guarantee on the hefty grid connection fee just to apply. The rationale? To weed out speculative applicants and ensure only those with serious shovel-ready projects get a shot. An official from ANRE, the national regulator, summed up the intent. The 5% guarantee is a first step toward modifying the connection process. There's more. Starting January 2026, a seismic shakeup is planned. The old first-come, first-served routine is being scrapped in favor of auctions for grid space. Only the most competitive, well-prepared bidders will win the right to plug into the grid. This may sound like a technicality, but in practice it will determine who gets to build and who gets left on the sidelines. Layered on top of this is the Contract for Difference (CFD) scheme. Romania's second CFD auction, held in 2024, targeted 3.47 GWs of new renewables, 1.47 GWs of that for solar alone. The results sent ripples through the sector. 432 MWs of solar awarded at an average price of $0.051 per kilowatt hour, a price point that signals both intense competition and growing maturity within the market. But with every new project, the constraints grow sharper. Romania's grid can't expand overnight. The sudden surge in renewables has left parts of the network groaning under the strain. Bottlenecks mean that even winners of auctions may face delays, uncertainty, or expensive upgrades before they can actually deliver power. Developers and investors are balancing on a knife edge, the promise of profits versus these persistent structural headaches. Then comes the financing puzzle. The Modernization Fund may offer headline-grabbing sums, but it's not bottomless. As of late 2023, over $521 million had already flowed into gas-related projects, raising eyebrows among green advocates. And while up to $20 million per applicant sounds generous, the real costs of installing, connecting, and maintaining advanced renewables can far exceed that, especially given global inflation and supply chain crunches. And there's a new wild card: energy storage. Romania has set a jaw-dropping target, 5 GW of storage by 2026. These batteries and hydro reservoirs are supposed to smooth out the ebbs and flows of wind and solar, turning intermittent electrons into reliable supply. But at present, the storage rollout is a vision, not yet a reality. The government's ambitions go even higher. National renewable energy targets have been ramped up, first aiming for 38.3% of all energy by 2030, and now shooting for 44% by 2035. To enable more solar while protecting agricultural land, new dual land use regulations were approved. Solar panels can now be built on grasslands, opening up massive new potential, but also sparking concerns from farmers and conservationists alike. So what does all this mean in practical terms? Imagine you're an entrepreneur in Romania right now. You see the headlines, you hear the politicians' optimism, and you eye the piles of cash now available for renewables. But you also face an obstacle course of connection guarantees, regulatory overhauls, auction mechanics, and doubts about whether the grid can absorb all this new power. If you win the lottery of funding and grid access, you could transform your business and cut energy costs for years. If you don't, you risk sinking investment into delays or dead ends. Meanwhile, international investors are watching closely. Eastern Europe has long lagged behind the West in renewables, but as Romania opens its doors and wallets, they're lining up, ready to pounce on the lucrative deals. Success would mean more jobs, greater energy security, and a shot at regional leadership. Failure, though, could reinforce old stereotypes of bureaucratic inertia and slow progress. Expert opinions span the spectrum. EnergyWorld.com recently described the mood as a race, noting, "Romania is racing ahead with its transition to renewable energy as a way to tackle spiraling energy prices and upcoming shortages." The International Comparative Legal Guides highlighted how the government's reforms are designed to cut carbon emissions and improve energy security. Yet the transition's outcome is anything but certain. Will it be a story of accelerated growth, technological transformation, or will old habits and stumbling blocks reignite and stall the journey? By late summer, as bids flood in and companies jockey for position, Romania's energy landscape is bracing for a seismic shakeup. The real question isn't just how much green energy can be built, but who will win the race, and at what price. Just as the promise of a greener, richer future seems within reach, the stage is set for a collision between hope and hard reality. When the dust settles, will Romania emerge as a shining beacon for the region, or will it become a cautionary tale of ambition thwarted by old systems? The answer may surprise you. But what happens next, now that the bids are in and the wheels of Romania's renewable revolution are turning? Is this the real dawn of a green era for Eastern Europe, or will the country stumble at the finish line? To see the future, we have to look at the forces now shaping Romania's path and the deep stakes for every business, investor, and citizen. Imagine Romania a few years from now. Countless solar arrays gleaming along highways, companies powering factories with wind and sun, and local communities transformed by new energy projects. It's an inspiring vision, but it's also far from guaranteed. Experts warn that the outcome hinges on a complex web of risks, reforms, and untapped opportunities. The first major pivot is the grid itself. Already, grid congestion in key industrial regions is creating a bottleneck. That means even if you've got funding and a solid business plan, plugging your project into the network is not a given. In 2026, Romania will ditch its old first-come, first-served method for grid connections and move to competitive auctions for grid space. This sounds fairer, but it also means stiffer competition, and companies could spend years and huge resources preparing bids they don't win. Grid constraints aren't just an engineering headache. They can become a deciding factor in who thrives and who stalls. As one analyst from EnergyWorld.com put it, in Romania, your place in line for the grid can now make or break a business case. If upgrades lag behind the rush to develop, entire gigawatts of clean power could be stranded on paper. But there's a flip side. These new rules force developers to be smarter, more efficient, and more collaborative. It could trigger a wave of innovation, smarter microgrids, energy storage partnerships, and load balancing deals. If regulators and operators work quickly, Romania could leapfrog older grid models and become a regional test bed for next-generation solutions. Financing is the other vital piece of this puzzle. The $310 million grant call, funded by the Modernization Fund, is a game changer, but it's only a piece of the total investment needed. The real test is whether private investors, both from within Romania and abroad, are confident enough in the rules, returns, and grid access to double down. If policy stays stable, the country could unlock billions more from banks, funds, and green bonds. However, there's a risk of boom and bust. If too many projects pile up without grid capacity, or if auctions become a brutal race to the bottom on price, investors could get cold feet. Some already voice concern about aggressive cost-cutting leading to low-quality builds or unfinished sites. As one expert at the Romanian Photovoltaic Industry Association warned, the real race isn't just capacity, it's quality and staying power. What about the local impact? Small and medium-sized businesses have a unique chance to slash costs and boost their resilience by generating their own solar and wind power. The new scheme isn't just for giant corporations. Enterprises can access up to $20 million per project for self-generation, helping shield them from price spikes and supply shocks. But again, success depends on navigating the new regulatory maze. There's now a 5% guarantee on grid connection applications above 1 megawatt, a hurdle meant to weed out speculation. Some smaller players worry this could block them from competing with deep-pocketed utilities. The hope is that new land use laws, especially those allowing dual use of grassland for solar, will make projects more accessible and profitable for rural communities. And then there's energy storage, Romania's new holy grail. The government has set a jaw-dropping target, 5 GW of battery and other storage capacity by 2026. If achieved, this would stabilize the grid, allow more renewables, and even turn Romania into a net exporter during peak times. But this needs not just investment, but a technological leap and a skilled workforce. Diving deeper, let's explore the 4 possible futures that experts are speculating about. The first is accelerated growth. If the regulatory reforms work, investment keeps flowing, and the grid keeps pace, Romania could double or even triple its green capacity by 2030. That would mean thousands of new jobs, cleaner air, and a dramatic drop in fossil fuel imports. Second, stalled progress. This is the nightmare scenario. Bids outstrip grid upgrades, bureaucracy slows approvals, and projects are left in limbo. Funding freezes, and Romania watches as neighbors seize the leadership spot. This could happen if reforms falter or political will weakens. Third, technological transformation. Here, Romania leapfrogs to advanced solutions. Think grid-scale batteries, AI-driven energy management, and even floating solar farms on old mines or lakes. If policymakers bet big on innovation, the country could become a regional tech hub, drawing in startups and global partners. And fourth, regional leadership. Perhaps the boldest vision, Romania nails the transition, meets its 44% renewables target ahead of the 2035 deadline, and becomes a model for the Balkans. It could export green know-how, power, and policy advice, lifting the region's entire energy game. Most likely, the real path will mix these scenarios. But the stakes are real. Get it right, and Romania could enjoy an energy boom, lower bills, more jobs, and cleaner cities. Get it wrong, and the country risks losing the trust of investors and the patience of its own people. So, what does all this mean if you're a business leader, policy watcher, or just someone dreaming of a cleaner future? First, there are practical moves you can make right now. If you own or manage a business in Romania, look closely at your energy bills. Self-generation might now be cheaper than ever, thanks to grants, improved technology, and regulatory changes. Take advantage of funding calls early, before competition heats up and grid space fills up. Second, if you're an investor or entrepreneur, don't be scared by the rush. Find partners who know the local landscape, especially grid operators. Tech-savvy teams who can navigate land regulations, connection guarantees, and upcoming auctions will have an edge. This is a market that rewards preparation and flexibility. Third, for the public and future workforce, there is huge opportunity in renewables and related industries. Training, engineering, and project management roles will be in high demand. Now is the time to consider upskilling or moving into green sectors. Universities and technical schools will have a growing role in shaping the talent pipeline. For policymakers and advocates, the lesson is clear. Transparency, stability, and consistency are key. Changing auction rules or funding terms midstream risks scaring off investors at the worst moment. Open dialogue with both big developers and small business owners will help ensure the transition is fair and broad-based. One immediate benefit already being seen? The dual land use regulation passed in December 2024. This lets farmers install solar on pasture land without losing agricultural subsidies, a quiet revolution that could transform rural incomes. As one rural entrepreneur told us, "For the first time, we're not forced to choose between food and energy. We can do both." Meanwhile, on the policy front, the introduction of the guarantee for connection fees may seem like a bureaucratic detail, but it's reshaping the game. It discourages speculative land banking and forces only serious players to apply, potentially speeding up real projects. However, care is needed to ensure this doesn't lock out the next generation of innovators. All of these factors add up to a crucial lesson. The energy transition is as much about people and ideas as about technology and money. Romania's experiment is being watched far beyond its borders. If it proves that even a country with grid challenges and legacy hurdles can go green at scale, it will inspire copycats, from the Balkans to the Baltic. So let's return to our central question. Can Romania actually pull it off? Will it become the Eastern European champion of renewable energy, or fall victim to the same old pitfalls? The evidence so far is mixed, but the momentum is real. With record solar deployment, smart new policies, and billions at stake, Romania is steadily assembling the right pieces. But the next year or two will be critical. If the government, grid operators, and private sector can stay the course, balancing bold ambition with careful execution, the country could well set a new standard for the region. And for those wondering who will win or lose, the truth is, everyone has something at stake. Investors and developers who move quickly, adapt, and collaborate are likely to prosper. Communities that embrace new projects could see jobs, incomes, and resilience grow. But those who hesitate or stick to old models will risk being left behind. Here's a secret fact. While the headlines focus on big-ticket auctions and massive GW projects, some of Romania's most impactful change is happening quietly at the local level. Small rural towns are starting to band together, pooling grants to build community solar, sometimes even turning old communist-era infrastructure into microgrids that power schools, clinics, and homes. These grassroots projects could become Romania's real renewable backbone, ensuring that the green shift isn't just top-down, but also bottom-up and deeply rooted. So, will Romania be the green leader Eastern Europe needs? The answer depends on what happens next, and who's bold enough to seize the moment. The opportunities are enormous, and the risks are real. If you found this analysis helpful, subscribe to our channel for more insider looks at Europe's green transition. Hit like if you think Romania can pull it off, and tell us in the comments, what do you see as the biggest challenge or opportunity in Romania's renewable revolution? Do you have a success story or warning to share? We want to hear from you. And finally,